90% of Canadians are literally living paycheck to paycheck. Don't let social media fool you. Literally 9 out of 10 people are broke as a joke, okay? So don't let this social media shit hype you up. That's why you need a way out. You need to save up and cash out the game. Go somewhere where there's actually good weather, good people, friendly people, safe, things that Canada doesn't have. So therefore, I don't want to hear none of that bullshit. Oh, Canada is good. Canada ain't shit. You just can't leave because you can't afford it, because 9 out of 10 of you guys are broke as fuck. And that's the real stats from the government of Canada. Don't let social media fool you.
Canada's fucking finished. Canada's done. Yeah. Get ready to lose your job, because nobody's going to be working in Canada with this fucking budget. So, good luck to you guys. Good luck. I'm applying for visas wherever I can. I'm leaving. Fuck this. Fuck this shit. This is fucking bullshit. I'm not going to live in a country where I'm second class. Fuck that.
Here's a reason why Mark Carney is the best prime minister in the history of Canada. Yeah, no, he's not the best prime minister in the history of Canada. He's absolutely shit, okay? Shit.
Well done, Canada. I'm standing in front of the Bank of England, the place where Mark Carney used to work as governor of the Bank of England. And guess what? The Brits weren't that happy. They weren't that impressed, because Mark Carney had a negative impact on the economy of England. And he is going to bankrupt Canada. And you're going to regret the decision to vote for him for the rest of your life.
Canada's GDP fell 0.3%, largest drop in nearly 3 years, Statistics Canada reports. What? How's that possible? Mark Carney is the best prime minister in the history of Canada. And we dropped even more. And that is like a fake number, by the way. I think we dropped even more. But why is it this way? I thought he was the best of the best. How are we losing? Isn't he like a billionaire or something? He invested over $2 billion in Ukraine. Why is our freaking economy going down the drain? He has all these pipelines invested with his companies in the US, Brazil, and Europe. Why isn't he opening our pipeline in Canada? Let me know in the comments below, liberals. What is happening with Mark Carney? I thought we were going to crush it.
Welcome back once again to the channel. I hope you're having a great time wherever you are watching this episode from. Now, there is something that is literally happening in Canada right now, which leads to Canadians concluding that indeed, guys, let's wake up to this harsh reality. We are doomed, we are done, and we are totally fed up. And this is the reality that we have to live into this great country of ours, that some leaders are not making it great anymore. In fact, they are making it worse, including the cost of living in Canada. Things are super expensive right now in Canada. Groceries are unaffordable. Things are super expensive. The cost of living is literally skyrocketing. To add on top of it, the overtaxations. Canadians are being overtaxed. And if you look what the taxes or where the taxes are going, it's not developing Canada anymore. It is aiding other countries like Ukraine. And veterans are literally suffering. Majority of them are confessing that they are not getting anything from the government. They are suffering. They end up being homeless. The housing crisis in Canada is literally affecting these people, these beautiful people. Most of them can't even afford houses in their own country. And if you look at what the government is doing about this, absolutely nothing. And very many things that Canadians are literally ranting. And in this video, let's see why Canadians are saying indeed this is the harsh reality. You have to wake up because Canada is doomed.
A home sweet home.
For more than 2 months, 76-year-old David Turner says he's been living, eating, and sleeping in his car.
The expense of everything is just crazy.
On good days, he drives to the Charlottetown Marina to greet tourists.
Welcome to PEI, sir.
Turner says his debt mounted, and after a couple months behind on rent, his landlord evicted him. Still, he feels more fortunate than others because he has a pension. It helps, but not enough to rent right now.
Seniors are struggling because of the cost of living, the cost of rent, the lack of affordable housing.
Seniors 65 and older made up nearly 5% of users at emergency shelters like this one behind me last year. That's up from 3.3% in 2000.
Did you know that 1 in 5 people living in the Atlantic in Canada have poverty-level living standards? And it's higher than any other region in Canada. Of course, nobody wants this for anyone in Canada, and it shouldn't exist in our country. Why is it that Canada could spend $1.1 billion housing asylum seekers in our country, and then set aside another $1.1 billion in the 2024 budget for more housing for asylum seekers? It would put them up in hotel rooms, facilities where they house asylum seekers with mental health services on site. At what point is enough and we start taking care of our own? This is a gentleman who's worked his whole life, paid taxes his whole life, and is now out on the street. But yet we have enough funding to house people who have never paid a single dollar in tax in our country. Someone please make that make sense. It's insane.
So the despicable and deliberate fall of Canada continues. So not only is Canada in the midst of an affordability crisis, skyrocketing crime rate, and facing one of the world's largest demoralization propaganda tactics right now. But for those people who think your elbows up stuff is working, I just want you to take this in for a second. Not only do we have a record number of Canadians lining up at food banks, but the number actually doubled to 2.2 million people now. Like any real Canadian, we all notice that there's a real problem with mass migration, and that comes in the form of temporary foreign work. Not only are we seeing all these Punjabis run their trucks through a bunch of people and murder our civilians without getting any sort of repercussions for it, but the amount of Canadians on EI has actually increased by 40% since 2023. And you really want to tell me we need all these people to come over to help us while we have the just average regular Canadian citizens struggling to find a job? I seen high school students put around over like 40 resumes, and I get a lot at my store alone, and not a single job is available for these people. Then don't forget, we are seeing a record number of businesses closing over here. That includes a bunch of layoffs because of these big companies leaving because of mismanagement of Canada alone. Listen, it has gotten so bad that CTV News released an article explaining to Canadians how to prepare for mass layoffs. But elbows up, right? Elbows up. Honestly, you really want to talk about mismanagement? How about that $75 million political attack that Doug Ford put out with the approval of Mark Carney? And because of that, we're facing a 10% increase on our tariffs from America. Honestly, Canada cannot be more mismanaged. And you want to talk about an economic down spiral? How about the fact that our dollar now is 71 cents? That's the lowest it's ever been since 2003. And to wrap it all together, the Prime Minister had the audacity to tell you that we just have to buckle down and make more sacrifices because of our economic fuckery that's going on here. It's not that young Canadians already are losing out on the opportunity of finding a job. It's not that young families can't even buy a home now. Honestly, the list of sacrifices that they're asking for has become so extensive to the point that we can't even meet basic needs for our military servicemen. They're asked to buy their own socks, they're asked to buy their own tactical helmets, they can't get the mold out of their barracks, and yet we somehow have the money to run a $75 million political campaign ad. These people don't care about you, they don't care about your well-being. It comes down to the Canadian at the end of the day. I want folks to remember, on top of that, they're literally putting us in a situation where we need to fend for ourselves. The justice system doesn't work. Criminals are let off in bail within a matter of minutes. And if you take any sort of action to defend yourself, it's most likely that you're going to end up on the receiving end of justice. And this is a nation that'll help everywhere else other than here back at home. It's time to have the conversation of how the fuck did we get here? And is Canada really a developed country at this point?
Listen, Canada is doomed, okay? Canada is going to become the 51st state. It's going to go in that direction because you guys don't understand what's happening behind the scenes. Canada has a crazy immigration policy still. So they're bringing a crap load of immigrants when we have no homes or jobs. And now more people are going to lose jobs because Trump has more tariffs coming. And yeah, this is going to be a disaster. And now we have provinces like Alberta and Saskatchewan, possibly British Columbia, that might separate. most likely, I think it will. So Canada will have no choice. Canada will have to become the 51st state, all thanks to the Liberal government. They're a piece of crap. These liberal moron voters voted for the same crap in the last 10 years. In fact, the crap is worse. Mark Carney is going to have more spending than Justin Trudeau. Idiots! What's wrong with you people? You guys are brainwashed NPC characters. You know what NPC are? Non-playable characters in video games? That's what you are, because you voted for Mark Carney because he was like, oh, I'm going to go against Trump and do all these things. Guess what? He's doing diddly squat. And no evidence of him, oh, we're doing all these projects. No evidence or proof of him doing all these projects. Let me know in the comments below. What do you all think us becoming the 51st state? I don't really care anymore. Canada's a crap show right now, and I wouldn't mind becoming the 51st state now. I think by 2030, if we don't become the 51st state soon, Canada's going to collapse anyway.
Canada has been completely destroyed by the Liberal government. These globalist asset management firms like BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, NGOs and think tanks like the Century Initiative, founded by a guy named Mark Wiseman, who's been directly influencing our immigration policy for 10 years, who is also a former executive at BlackRock. And these people's goal is to destroy anything that's left of Canadian culture, because Canadian culture, nationalism, anyone with a protectionist ideology is coming in direct way of these people making money. Wanting to defend your culture, wanting to restore things back to the way they used to be, is getting in the way of the plan, and these people are a lot more powerful than you, a lot stronger than you. These people are living for the world, they're living for the material gain, and these people will go where the money is. That's why you even see Mark Carney's own Liberal MPs getting mad at him for allowing this MOU with Danielle Smith. Because these people think that it's actually about net zero for climate purposes. It's bullshit. No, it's about building a global investment framework like the financial alliance Mark Carney founded, GFANS, actually empowers these asset management firms and allows them to profit off the decarbonization. Brookfield was deforesting the Amazon, releasing something like, I can't remember the exact number, but 160 million metric tons of carbon a year. I'm pretty sure that's accurate. They do not care. These people are lying to you.
You pay more in taxes than you do in housing, clothing, and food. And that's according to the latest study that was done by the Fraser Institute. The average Canadian family spends 42% of their income on taxes. And that's more when you combine all of this. That's 35%. When you add this up, on average for most Canadian families. That's significantly less than the near 50% of taxes that we all pay. And since 1961, our taxes have gone up by nearly 3,000%. Anything other than tax cuts and fiscal responsibility is completely unacceptable. And this is why I've been saying for so long, we have no business saving the rest of the world when we are bankrupt. The only obligation we have as Canadians is to save ourselves at this point. No more tens of billions of dollars in corporate welfare. No more tens of billions of dollars going into overseas wars that don't affect us. No more tens of billions of dollars being spent on international gender studies. If you want taxes to go down, spending has to go down as well. This is getting ridiculous.
Canada's changing, and as someone who nearly spent 17 years here as a kid, and someone who comes back to visit every so often, I want to talk about some of the things I see, because I moved back to the UK mid-2016 and my family emigrated here in the late 90s, and things are very different now compared to how they used to be. And if you're living here, these changes might seem incremental, but for me, as someone who comes back maybe once a year, every 2 years, you notice it more and more, and you see the changes happening in the community. I used to live just outside Vancouver and in South Surrey, so I'm going to speak in specifically this area. I don't know how it is on the East Coast, but the first thing is just the cost of living is exploded. And I don't know how people get on just because of how expensive things are. And I know, the wages are better in Canada. There's good wages, but when you factor in what the taxes are, you factor in the cost of petrol or gas here, the cost of housing, cost of food. It's very surprising that anyone has anything left at the end of the month, especially as a young person. I don't know how it is for older people and people in their 40s and 50s. They've probably got some house equity, but in terms of people in their 20s just starting out, it doesn't seem like the best place to be starting your life, really, unless you've got some sort of a way to get that housing deposit and get started. So that's the biggest thing. So the wind's a bit in my headphones here, but yeah, in terms of the cost of living, it's just everything that I see in the shop is extortionate, and these are things in the UK you could get for significantly cheaper. Same in El Salvador, where I currently live. It's madness, and I don't understand why Canadians put up with it. Second is, in terms of the weather, right? You don't notice it when you live here. You just get on with it. You plod along, you go to work, you come home, you have your dinner, you go to bed, repeat, you go to school. But you come back to this, and you can see what this is like. It's pretty much like living under a continuous cloud in Vancouver, right? And there's a lot of good things about the country. I'm not dissing the country, but in terms of the weather and how it makes you feel, how it makes you sleep, how it affects your body, it's crazy, right? And you know, if you're living in this and this is what you're used to, you don't know how good you could have it in other countries. And I'm not just saying the grass is greener elsewhere. It really is in that case. When I lived in the UK, I had the same problem, and I went to El Salvador in March, and it was the best decision. Now I'm in the warm all year round, and the vitamin D, it makes a big difference. So that's the big thing. You don't notice it when you're living in it, and you maybe sometimes think, oh wow, weather's a bit rough today, isn't it? Well, you really notice it when you come back, and as you can see now, I'm laid up. It's 5 degrees out here, and it's freezing cold. So yeah, big difference. The third thing is, I've got to turn around, bit gusty, so you can imagine how cold it is, but you really notice now that people are not as happy anymore, and it's quite sad, because that's been one of the good things about Canada. People are very polite, people are quite friendly, and in general, people have been a lot happier here. You used to see a lot of people that had their cabin that they used to go to on the weekends. They'd have a camper van, they'd have a boat, you know, they'd go off and do things at the weekends. People had good lives here, right, way back when. And there are some people that still do, don't get me wrong, but that vision of what you can have, that you used to be able to have, that was a lot more attainable for everybody back in the day, is now very difficult to obtain, because getting a deposit for a mortgage, you're talking hundreds of thousands if you want to get a house. So that the standard of living our parents had in this country is significantly significantly better than what people in their 20s today are going to have. And that's a sad thing, really, because there are a lot of good things about this country, and there's a lot of good ways you can build businesses here, you can do a lot. But why would you do it here when it costs so much, when you can go to other countries and do the same thing, and you can have a better quality of life, you can have better weather, lower taxes, because the taxes, same as the UK, don't really provide much of return. I mean, yeah, you've got services, right? You got a health service, and they tell you at the government that, you know, you got to have your free healthcare and all of that, and it's great. But try going to A&E, try go to emergency. How long are you going to wait? It's not like that in every country, and they tell you that it's the best thing to have, but reality, just like the UK, it's not, and you pay a lot of taxes for it, and when you need it, it's not there for you. So you don't notice these things until you go abroad. And you know, when I come back and I hear about what people are talking about, and I see how things are in the supermarkets, that's when you notice. But if you're living in it, you don't notice these things. Follow for more content, and check out El Salvador. You'll see how nice it is these days.
If you look at some factors that affect the GDP of a country, some factors that affect the economy of a country, let's say things are super expensive. Me personally, I believe, let's say for example, this Canadian government needs to put Canada first. They need to put Canadians first, so that if you put Canadian first, it means that, let's say for example, the immigration crisis. You know, the immigration crisis, it affects a country whereby the people of that country will eventually come to a conclusion that immigration is affecting us. Because when we take in more people than how we can house them, than how our resources are allowed to be split and shared between, it will eventually affect them. It will end up causing things like immigrants are taking our jobs, things like immigrants are occupying the houses, and this and other factors leads to such things that are happening in Canada. Let's say, for example, the housing crisis. We take in more people, and yet our own people are sleeping in their cars. Houses are super, super expensive. Getting a house, you'll have to wait for years. Getting a house in Canada, you'll have to be a billionaire or spend a lot of money for you to afford a house. Veterans are even selling their things so that they can afford to pay rent. Those who can't afford, they are opting to live inside their cars, and for those who don't have cars, well, they end up sleeping at the streets. The number of homeless people, if you look closely at your Canadian FYP, you realize that the number of homeless people is increasing year in, year out in Canada, a thing of which, as you've been seeing the past years, it hasn't been happening in Canada. So it is literally going on. The overtaxation. Canadians are being overtaxed. And yet their money, which is supposed to be solving this crisis, like the housing crisis, like the cost of living in Canada, inflation and everything, it is going to aid other countries that don't even need that money more than Canadians. Canadians need that money. For example, the 2.5 billion that was given to Ukraine could have done super or very many things in Canada. And yet the government also comes to tell us that we should contribute or donate to the government so that to make the Canadian economy stronger. And yet they are the ones who are literally messing with Canadians. They are not putting Canadians first. They are making Canadians' life very, very miserable. These and very, very many things are contributing to Canadians saying that, guys, this is our harsh reality. The Liberal government is literally finishing us, and eventually we are doomed. We are done, and we are fed up. This and very many factors. Tell me what you think about the Canadian situation right now in the comments, and see you in the next